I have gone through many YouTube tutorials which are still showing you the outdated implementation of Drizzle ORM with the Expo project. In this tutorial, we will cover the latest implementation which works with your latest Expo SDK. The first step will be to have an Expo project ready. If you already have your source code ready, you can skip this particular part of the tutorial and you can anyway go ahead with the rest of the part of the tutorial. But let's assume that you don't have any Expo project ready, so I'll create new one, and the command for that is npx create expo app latest. Let's give it a name, and let me call it Drizzle SQLite Expo guide. Okay, so our project setup is downloaded. Let me quickly open it in Visual Studio Code. So initially, Expo gives you a lot of boilerplate code that we don't need in this particular tutorial. So I'll just write the command npm run reset project, which will give me a bare minimum code to work with. So I don't want to keep the example code anywhere. I just want to quickly get rid of it. So I'll say no. I won't keep. I don't want to keep it. So now in our project folder, we have a app folder and we have an assets folder. As a good practice, I recommend you to make a folder called src and move your app folder in your src folder as well as your assets folder also in src. So by having one single src folder, it isolates your source code from the configuration files. So it's kind of clean approach which uh, reduces the mess from your project, and many people use it while building large applications. Now since we have changed the path of uh, our app folder and assets folder, we need to update the path in app.json. There are some paths which are referring to the assets folder, like this one. So this one is looking for the icon in the assets folder, but asset folder is no more at the root level, so we need to update it accordingly. So it should look into the src folder, and from there it will get the assets folder. Similarly, you need to do this with other paths like this one. Foreground image can be found from src/assets instead of just directly going to the assets folder. Similarly, I'll do it here and here. Yeah, so paths are updated according to my modified structure of the project. So the next step is to writing your database schema. So definitely we'll have some database in our application, and for that we need to write a schema. So schema means nothing but the definition of your tables in your database, and we need Drizzle ORM library to write database schema, because we will use Drizzle ORM only to write a database schema. So Drizzle ORM is a TypeScript based ORM, and it provides a type safe query. So that mismatch of type, the errors because of mismatch of types, uh, can be reduced by using Drizzle ORM, because it provides your type safe query. So it automatically warns you in advance whenever you mismatch any type, and TypeScript is all about types only. So this Drizzle ORM is used in your as used at runtime in your application, and it helps you making interaction with your database, like reading your database, updating your database, or making deletion in your database. So let me just quickly install this library, which is Drizzle ORM. So Drizzle ORM is installed. Now what I'll do, so we need a location where I'll define the schema for my database. So I recommend that inside your SRC folder, create one DB folder. So I'll create one DB folder, and inside your DB folder, so whatever functions or whatever utilities you'll write on your database, I'll recommend you to keep inside this DB folder. So I want to write a schema for my database. So let's make one file to which I call schema.ts. So now I'll use Drizzle ORM to write a schema for one table. So I'll make a uh, user table, and for that I need some types. So I need integer, I need SQLite table, I need text type, and all these things I import from the Drizzle ORM, right? So inside Drizzle ORM, we have this SQLite core. So this gives you the types. So I imported integer type, I imported SQLite table, and the text type. Now I'll quickly go on and define the schema of our table, which is a user table. Anyway, AI is also suggesting, but let's write. So anyway, yeah, it will be a user. I won't call it users, I'll call it user. I prefer naming the tables in singular, because I think of them as entity and not as entity. So a user is an so every record inside your user table, I mean, it kind of helps you in establishing relationship between two entities. Like user is interacting with order, user is making orders, user is uh, giving feedback. So it's kind of makes more sense to me when I use singular words to name my table. So I'll create a user table, and for that I use this SQLite table type. Inside that I define the name of the table, and from there I'll define the columns that I need in my table. So I need one ID column, so that will be of integer type, and again it will be named ID, and it will be definitely a primary key. So this ID will uniquely identify the entries in my user table. Then I need a name column, so that will be of text type, and it will be a non-null field. You can't make it null. And I also need a email field. Yeah, and email is always unique, so we have used this unique property as well. So we have defined our schema. So for this particular tutorial, we will just keep this one simple example for the demonstration point of view. All right. So now next thing we need to do is we need to uh, do some configuration. We need to make some configuration files so that our Drizzle can work in our expect application. Uh, so we need some plugin also. The first one is Babel plugin inline import. I'll tell you why we are using this later. Let me first install it. So I'll do npm install Babel plugin. import. This is the name of the plugin, Babel actually plugin inline import. Babel plugin inline import. Now, if you already have one babel.config.js inside your source directory, then it's fine. But if you don't have it, then you can make the one babel.config.js by using this particular command. So I'll type npx expo customize babel dot config dot js. So as soon as I hit enter, it has made one babel.config.js file for me, and here we need to set one plugin. I'll tell you what that plugin does, but let me just first write it down for you. So it will be plugins, and inside that I need the inline import facility, inline import, and extensions as SQL. Yeah, so I added one plugin, and that's an inline import of extension of type SQL. So what is the purpose of this setting? Why we did this? So in native TypeScript or I mean the natural way of using Expo, it doesn't allow it allows only import TypeScript files or JavaScript files, right? So it does not understand, or your Expo project does not understand .sql kind of files. And to make these to make this content of this .sql file, or like maybe if you want some other kind of file to make them importable in your TypeScript code, then you can add their extension also. For example, I want txt to be importable in my TypeScript code, then you can provide that txt extension as well. But for now we just need .sql files to be importable in our TypeScript project. And when we create I'll show you when we create .sql files. So whatever schema I have written there, that will be converted into a .sql file, which will be used which will be used by our Expo application. So if I give you a spoiler, using Drizzle kit will we will make some migration files which will be of type which will be of extension .sql, and we will need them to be bundle, and we will need them to bundle in our Expo application. So that's why we need this plugin to in place, so that we can import .sql files in our TypeScript code. So next thing is metro.config.js. So if you already have metro.config.js here, then fine. If you don't have, you can use the same command that you used to create babel.config.js. So let me write, and this time I'm npx expo customize metro.config.js. So this has created metro.config.js for me, and inside that I need to here also I need to provide support of .sql file. So what I'll do, inside the config dot resolver dot source extension dot push SQL. So the source extension is an array. uh, so Metro does not recognize SQL files by default, right? So to make the Metro recognize files like .sql, we are adding this one extra line in our metro.config.js as well. So this particular line tells the Metro to treat .sql files as the source files only, as your source code only. Okay, so we now have written our database schema. We have configured babelconfig.js. We have configured our metro.config.js. Now I want to introduce our development tool, which is called Drizzle Kit. So far I have introduced one thing from Drizzle, that is Drizzle ORM, which is a core library which helps you write the schema in using Drizzle framework. But now I'm introducing one more thing which is called Drizzle Kit. I'll show you what Drizzle Kit does, but let's first install it. And we just need Drizzle Kit in for when we are developing our application. In production, Drizzle Kit is not required. So npm install, and install it as a development dependency. That's why I'm specifying -d flag. So it will be downloaded as a development dependency. And the tool that we need is Drizzle Kit. So basically Drizzle Kit helps you create the migration files. So during runtime of your application, uh, uh, your actually the Drizzle does not use this schema.ts as it is to set up your database. Using this, Drizzle Kit does what that Drizzle Kit uses this schema.ts and make some .sql files, raw SQL files, which are then eventually used by Drizzle ORM to, which are then eventually used by Drizzle to initialize the schema of your database. Or whenever you do some changes in your schema, then you can then it will pick up the new schema from the migration files that which Drizzle Kit will generate. So instead of talking too much on it, let me just quickly show you how you can create migration files. So to use Drizzle Kit, installing the Drizzle Kit is not enough. We need to set up a configuration for the Drizzle as well. So what we need to do, we need to create one file called drizzle.config.js. So I have created one file drizzle.config.ts, and this configuration file is used by your Drizzle Kit tool, and it contains all the information about your database connection and the migration folder and the schema file. So let me just import type config from Drizzle Kit, and then we will export default. So here is the key information. It contains the information where your schema lies. So here I'll give the path of my schema. So schema, and as the AI detected, so our schema is in the src /db /schema.ts, right? So schema file is linked in the drizzle config.ts so that Drizzle Kit can use it to migrate schema, right? So now I specify an output directory. So when Drizzle Kit generates migration files using your schema, we need to specify where those migrations should be created, where should those raw SQL files should be created. And for that also, I'll do, inside my source folder, and let's just may inside source folder it should make one drizzle folder, right? So inside your drizzle, inside your source folder, it will whenever you run the drizzle kit, it will make one drizzle folder inside your source. Right now we don't have it, but when you run the drizzle kit, it will be there. So I'll show you once I complete this configuration file. And even to, we have to specify one more thing, that is dilect SQLite, and driver will be Expo. Great. So according to the documentation of Drizzle, this particular line is very important. You can't skip this particular line. So the snippet that I'm writing for you right now, it's all taken from the official documentation of Drizzle ORM. So I'm not writing something on my own. So we have imported the config from Drizzle kit. I'm exporting this this thing here, in which I'm specifying that schema is available at this particular path. So depending upon where your schema lies in your project, you need to modify this particular path, right? So for me, it lies in src/db/schema.ts, and the output file and the output folder where Drizzle migrations should be created, that I'm specifying that inside inside source create one Drizzle folder, and there I need my migration files to be generated. And this is the driver that we need to specify, and which is our Expo. Now let's go and quickly generate our migrations file for our database. So the command for this is npm drizzle kit. So I'm using drizzle kit, and then just simply say generate. So watch over this src folder. It will create a one new folder here by this name drizzle. Let's do it. So there was a mistake in the command. It should be npx instead of npm. Yep. So see, it has created a drizzle folder, and as I told you, it will create the SQL files. You can see it should be this one SQL file. So it has created a raw SQL query for you. So you have written your schema using TypeScript language, right? Using SQL, using the Drizzle ORM, specifying what type it should be there, integer type, text type, and all that thing. And using Drizzle kit, you generated the raw SQL file from it, right? Like that. So this particular Drizzle ORM is generated from your by watching this particular schema of your database. If you had some more tables here, you must be seeing there more tables, right? And whenever you change your schema, so that's the catch. Whenever you change your schema, you need to run this command again. Drizzle ORM will not automatically change the schema whenever you add more tables inside this file. Drizzle ORM won't automatically take up them. You need to generate the migrations again. So you don't need to delete this folder. Whenever you change something here, let's say you delete the email field, or you add more columns in this particular table, just run this drizzle npx drizzle kit generate again, and it will overwrite this particular folder and make your new migration files. Great. I hope you understood. All right. So the next step is to install Expo SQLite library. So definitely we need Expo SQLite base, Expo SQLite database. Over that we are applying our Drizzle ORM. So let's install Expo SQLite. So it will be like npx expo install Expo SQLite. Okay, I think I made a typo here. It should be npx expo install expo SQLite. Right. Yeah. So I installed npx expo SQLite. So Drizzle does not work fine in your Expo Go environment. I know that you can just do npx expo start and scan the QR code with your phone, and you can um, show your you can see your application inside your mobile with the Expo Go application. You need to download the Expo Go application. So Drizzle ORM does not work fine in your Expo Go environment. So I will recommend you guys to create a development build of your project. So there are two ways you can create your development build. One is continuous native generation, and other is using Expo application service. So continuous native generation lets you make your development build locally, and Expo application service allows you to build make your development build on the cloud, which you can download in any of your device and test how your app is performing. In this particular tutorial, I'll use CNG, continuous native generation, and I'll make a local build inside my laptop only. So let me just uh, make one development build uh, for the Android. You can do the same for the iOS as well, but let me for the demonstration purpose, let me just make a development build for the Android. So the command for it will be npx expo pre-build, and since I want to make only for Android, so I'll specify the platform by using this platform flag, and platform should be Android. If you don't specify this flag, it will create the development flag for both Android as well as iOS. But I'll just create for Android. Okay, so we have created npx our development build, and you can see that here we got one new folder which says Android. So here lies your native Android code. Now to run this development build, so one disclaimer that you must have an uh, emulator ready to run your development build. If you don't have your Android emulator ready, you won't be able to run this development build. I won't be covering this how you can uh, make the Android emulator ready in your OS. Otherwise, the tutorial will be too long. You can watch out some tutorials how you can set up your Android emulator or iOS emulator, right? So but assuming that you already have your Android emulator ready, if that is so, then you can just write this command npx expo run Android. So it opened the emulator that I already set it up using Android Studio. Okay, so now our application is up and running. So you can see that our application is running in this Android emulator. So now the next thing that we have to do is set up the root layout for Drizzle. So we have to define the name for our database, and we need to provide the access to the database to our entire application. So that we will do in our uh, underscore layout.tsx. So right now it's just returning one stack. Uh, so what I need, since I just installed Expo SQLite as well, so I'll import one hook from the Expo SQLite library, and that is called SQLite provider. Great. Now I'll use the hook as well to provide the access of our database to the entire application. But let's first define the name for our database. So I'm defining a variable called database name, and you can give any name to your database. Let's call it my underscore db. So this is my name of my database, and what I'll do, I'll wrap this entire stack of screens into something by using this. So this SQLite provider. So SQLite provider is not a hook. I was wrong. SQLite, I mentioned it incorrectly that SQLite provider is a hook, but it's not a hook. It's a component. So which wraps around all your stack screens. So what I'll do, I'll just wrap my entire set of screens into this SQLite provider, right? So it should go like this. Right, and this SQLite provider component uh, takes some parameters as well, takes some props as well, I should say. And here I pass the name of my database, right? And there are some options that I'll also enable. So inside the option, what I'll do, I'll set enable change listener to true. So you'll get to know why I did this. So it is clear that database name I supplied to exploit provider so that it can initialize my database with this particular name. At first time, it will initialize your database. Later on, if the SQL provider sees that my underscore DB already exists, so it will use it automatically instead of creating one new database. And this particular option, enable chain listener, this will help us in executing live queries. So some queries which are fetching records from your database, I mean, Drizzle ORM has the facility of live queries. So once you write that query, it keeps on fetching the up-to-date records. If some part of the application changing the records, that live query always fetch the latest records only. So to make, if you want to use the live queries, then you can set this on change enable chain listener true. If you don't want to use such kind of facility from Drizzle ORM, you can set it to, I mean, you can avoid setting this attribute in the options. Now there is one more prop in your SQLite provider that is called on init. So there can be bunch of things that we want to do during the initialization of our database. So for the first time when you run your application, this on init callback runs, right? And I told you while generating those migration files using DrizzleKit, which are here, right? I told you that we will need to bundle them, or we will with our Expo application, and we need to we need to use them to migrate our schema, right? So that migration step we will do in this on init callback. So this on init callback, as a prop, it gets the database instance. So whatever SQLite database we have in our application, it gets that database instance as an prop. So it will be like that, async of uh, database. So database instance will be a prop for this callback, and inside the callback we need to do something with the database. So I'll tell you what I'll do. Basically I'll perform the migrations uh, we, into our database using Drizzle. So first of all, I need to create an instance of Drizzle. So I'll create a DB instance. So this particular database variable is the instance of Expo SQLite database. I need to make a Drizzle instance out of it. So what I'll do, I make a variable DB, and I use the function Drizzle and pass this database to that function, right? And this Drizzle function, I need to import let's import Drizzle from the Drizzle ORM. So import Drizzle from Drizzle ORM slash Expo SQLite, right? So this Drizzle function uh, I'm passing this database SQLite database into this, and what I'm getting in return is the instance of Drizzle. So what I want to do with this instance, that's my problem. I mean, I can do anything with it. I can perform migrations, I can execute SQL queries, right? So but in this particular callback function, I need to perform the migration to our database. So, and migrations is as an asynchronous task, so that's why I use the variable, use the keyword async. And whenever we use async as a keyword in the definition of the function, we need to perform some asynchronous operation using this await keyword, right? So I need to migrate. So migrate is another function that we need to import again from the Drizzle ORM Expo SQLite. So import migrate from Drizzle ORM slash Expo SQLite slash migrator, right? So this is the migrate function that will perform. So this migrate function is again coming from Drizzle ORM. Drizzle ORM is only providing us, and this function help us in performing the migrations. So and what this function takes, it takes your DB, your Drizzle DB instance and the migrations, right? But we have not imported the migrations. So where does our migrations lie? Our migrations lie in this Drizzle folder, right? So we need to perform this migration step. I need to import those migrations also, right? So let's write that import statement as well. So import migrations from, so I need the path of this particular Drizzle folder. So what I can do is src slash Drizzle slash migrations. So I imported these migrations. So this migration.js will help us performing those migrations. So these migrations I'll pass to this migrator function. So this will help us in doing the migrations, right? And whatever, I mean, let's say this function executes successfully, then we can console log migration is succeeded, right? And let's just um, wrap this function into a try block, because during migration there are chances that some error will occur and our migration may not happen successfully. In that case, we'll catch that error and in case of error I'll just console.log and I'll say migration failed, and whatever error message I get, I'll print that also. All right, so this is the let me summarize once again what we did here. We wrapped our entire application with this SQLite provider, right? And inside our SQLite provider, I will specify the database name. At first time when you run your application, that database won't exist, so it will create new database by the same name. Next time when you run your application, it will reuse the existing database. And here to use a live queries that I will explain later, we have set it up this option. And here in the onInit method, so during the initialization, I also want to perform the migrations. So later on, when you keep on developing your application and you change the schema of your application, then you will generate new migration files, right? New schema for it. So you generate new migrations using Drizzle kit, since you have this callback function already plugged in, so it will automatically update your schema whenever you run your application again. Now, next thing that I'll do is I'll apply a suspensor to this entire application. Now, since this is an asynchronous function, right, and it may take some time to finish based on how bulkier your database is. So during that time, I want my Expo application to create a suspense and show something else that I want to show in that particular time period. So for that, one suspense component comes handy. So I'll show you what I'll import. So I need to import suspense from React. So it has auto imported for me. And what I'll do, I'll wrap my entire application into this suspense component. Right. So this, but I need to tell this suspense component that during the time this SQLite provider is getting ready, it is doing its work in asynchronously, fall back to some different component. So for that, I will use fallback prop, and in this fallback prop, you can pass any component that you want. I'll what I'll do, I'll use one ready-made component from React Native, that is activity indicator. So some kind of loader it provides you, but you can definitely use some custom component as well. For the sake of simplicity, I'll just use ready-made component. It's an activity indicator, right? So I'll tell my suspense to fall back to this activity indicator component, and by the time our database is getting ready, fall back to this activity indicator. Once database is ready, this suspense will finish and we'll enter into our application. And to make it look good, you can tweak some parameters like size you can keep it large, right? So you can explore this activity indicator, or you can definitely use your own custom component as well. So all the setup is done now. We are ready to use our database via Drizzle ORM. To use Drizzle in your application, you need to always create a Drizzle instance. So just like the way I created a Drizzle instance here, and instead of writing any queries over it, I just performed the migrations, right? I performed the migration. So just like that, in your wherever in your application you want to use the Drizzle to make queries, you need to create an instance of Drizzle. I'll show you how you can do it. So let's say I want to use uh, I want use Drizzle ORM inside my index.tx and make some query into the database, right? So what I'll do for that, we'll use one hook. That hook will provide the access to SQLite database. That is called use SQLite context. So I'll import it. Right, from Expo SQLite I imported use Expo SQLite, and since we have provided the access to the database to our entire application inside this dot underscore layout.tx, that's why we can use this use SQLite context hook to get the instance of our database. Otherwise we won't be able to, I mean, otherwise this hook can't do anything for us, right? So what I'll do, I'll create a variable which I'll call expodb, and I use this use SQLite context hook. Now this particular variable has the instance of your SQLite database, right? But I want to use Drizzle ORM over it. So what I'll do, I need to import the Drizzle uh, function from Drizzle ORM. So I'll import just like we did in the underscore layout.2x. I need to do it here also. So I'll import Drizzle from Drizzle ORM slash Expo SQLite. Cool. And what I'll do, I will create a new variable that I call Drizzle db, and inside, and what I'll do, I'll just use the same function that I imported and pass the export db inside that. Now one more thing that I recommend you to do, for the type safety, is that import the schema from your db folder, db slash schema.ts, and use that also to make the instance. So I'll show you. So this is what the official documentation of Drizzle ORM suggests. So we'll follow the exact same step of the official documentation. So I'll import the user. So first of all, I'll import the entire thing that I have in my schema. And where does the schema lie? It lies in src slash db slash schema, right? So I imported the entire schema from my schema.ts file, and what I'll do, I'll deconstruct that schema because lots of tables can be there. Right now we just have one, but there can be more in case you make a larger application. So I'll just deconstruct it and provide to this Drizzle function, right? So now this Drizzle DB is ready to use. You can make any query to it, create some more entry, or read, write, update, or delete. You can make all CRUD operations, right? So what I'll do now, I'll show you what so I told you about live queries. You can write the query once and it always fetch you the updated records. You don't have to query it, you don't have to rerun it to fetch the updated results from your database. And right now I'll show you how you can make a live query to your database. For that, we need to import live query as well from your Drizzle ORM. So other than Drizzle, we need use live query hook as well. So I'll show you how you can write that. So let's say I want to read all the user entry inside my user table. So what I'll do const, and whatever data I have, I'll just deconstruct it into data variable, and I'll use live query hook. And inside that I'll write the read query over Drizzle DB. So this is my Drizzle DB. On that I'll make a read query. So Drizzle DB dot select from where? From your user table, right? So it will fetch all the entries from user table, but it is not able to identify what user is. So let's just import user as well from your schema. Right, so now it identifies, now it knows what user type is. So this particular live query will always so this data variable will always have the latest records. Even if someone changes those records from some different part of the application, this will always have the latest record of records, because we have use live query. And since we have already enabled this enable change listener as true, this will work. Otherwise it will not work, right? So now I'll write some simple snippet to show you the data over a screen, and let me just map over this data. So what I'll do, so I'll write a JavaScript based logic. So inside your data, so if we have something in our data, that's why I'm using this question marks operator. Map this to this. I'll use a callback function. Using this map function, I can map all the entries in my data to one component, right? So whatever data I receive, render it into one component, right? Let's make it a view, and let's give it a key to the view, because many views will have to keep it so that we don't have any error, I'll give each view a key, and that will be, otherwise if you don't give a unique identifier to each view, sometimes it throws error. So what I'll do, I'll just, because see what we have in our user, we have ID, we have name, and we have email, right? So these information I am catching into this user data variable. I'm mapping over the each entry in my data entries that I fetched from this user table, and I'm rendering a view out of it, right? Great. It should go like this. Yeah. Now inside this view, I'll have 3 text elements, and each one to show what I have in this data. First one I used to show user data dot id. Great. And then let me just quickly copy them. this one for the name, right, and this one for the email. So this text is not imported from React Native, so let me import this text so that it can identify and render it. So right now we don't have any entries to our database, so that's why we cannot see anything on our screen. Let's just make one function here which can help us, because it's right now it's empty, but let's just make one function which can help us adding entries to the user table, right? So let's make one function here, and I'll call it add user. Again, since it's a DB operation, it will be an asynchronous operation, so I'll use async keyword for it. I'll use the arrow function. Now I'll do whatever I'll do it in a try catch block, because it's a DB operation and some error can occur while making that operation, right? So I'll use this Drizzle DB instance to make a create query. So it will be an asynchronous operation. So I'm using await keyword and Drizzle DB, and this time we are not selecting, we want to insert. So insert where? Insert into the user table, and what values I want to insert inside this. So let's just put some random values. We don't have to make an real entry. So id some is a primary key, it will auto generate. We just need to send name and email. So name is, let's say name is user, and what it can do, it can, let's just use whatever date it has, so that just a random kind of name I'm giving, it just does not make sense in reality. So I'm just using a date to fill it here. So date now, and again email should be let's just call it user, then again I'll just use the date here at example.com, right? So now I need to use this function also somewhere. Let's just complete this error block as well. So in case of some error, say that error has occurred, error adding users, error adding, because it will add one user, so error adding user, and whatever error I have, print that error. Great. Now what I can do, I can make one button here. So I'll make one button, and on pressing that button I can right, so it's importing from the React, it's importing the button from React navigation elements, right? Okay, so on press I want something to happen, and I'll use add user function for it, add user function as a callback. So while pressing whenever you press that button, some random username and email will be set, and they will go into our database. And let's just call it add user, the name to the button. So we have this button here, so let's just try if that works or not. Okay, so as soon as I click the add user button, some entry entered into the database, and since we were using use live query, it is fetching the live data from. When it was empty, it was showing us empty entry, right? So as soon as I clicked add user, it has popped up, it has created the entry into the database, and we can show it, we can see that live into the screen. So what I can do, I can click it one more time. See, everything is just fetching live because of this use live query functionality, right? Cool. So this was mandatory requirement. This was a mandatory setup which we need to set up Drizzle ORM in our application. Now I'll show you one more interesting thing that's a bonus for you. We have one more tool that's an optional. If you want to use it, you can use it. If you don't want to use it, then it's completely fine. So there is something called Drizzle Studio. Drizzle Studio provides the graphical user interface over your database. So right now the database is kind of hidden, right? This SQL database is hidden, and only the only way to see what entries are there, you have to write these queries, right? There is not a quick way to see what tables are there, or what entries are there, right? You need some graphical user interface over your database, and that purpose is fulfilled by Drizzle Studio. So Drizzle Studio provides the graphical interface over your database, where you can inspect all the tables, as well as you can manipulate the DB entries there as well. If you have worked with PostgreSQL, then you might have heard of pgadmin, which provides the graphical user interface over your Postgres database. Similarly, Drizzle Studio is a graphical user interface over your SQLite database. So let's see how you can use it. For that, you need to install one plugin, and that plugin is Expo Drizzle Studio plugin. So let's install it. npm install Expo Drizzle Studio plugin. Okay, so now the Drizzle Studio is installed. To use that Drizzle Studio in your application, you just need to import this one hook from this plugin, and that's called use Drizzle Studio. So I'll import use Drizzle Studio from this plugin that we have just installed, Expo Drizzle Studio plugin, right? So I have imported this hook, and you can you can just use this Drizzle Studio hook in your index.tx tsx also. You just need to provide this hook the access to your database, and our database is expodb. So what I'll do, I'll write this hook use Drizzle Studio and provide the access of my Expo SQLite DB, right? So it will work, but to see it working, you need to do one thing. Just restart your server so that you're sure it will work. Now so Drizzle Studio is set it up. You just want to open that graphical user interface. For that, just press shift and then M. Press shift and M, right? So as soon as I pressed shift M, it has opened bunch of development tool. So press shift plus M, it will open dev tools. Inside that, we need to open this Export Drizzle Studio plugin. So using your down arrow key, just navigate to it and hit enter. So it has automatically taken me to this particular dashboard of my Expo SQLite DB. So I can visualize this. Right now we just have only user table here, So if you have more table, you can see it here, right? So all the entries we have made, you can see it here, and you can even delete them. So let's say I delete these two entries. So right now we have four entries. Let me just delete two, right? So you can delete them as well. So if we see we have only two records now. So this is a really great tool which can help you see what tables you have in your database, what kind of columns it has, what are the types. I mean, quickly you can, it is really helpful and very handy while debugging your database for your Expo application. Alright guys, so that was for this video. I covered end to end about Drizzle, how to integrate Drizzle in your Expo application, how to debug your SQLite database using Drizzle Studio, how to generate your migrations, how to set up the configuration file. If you really like this video, please like this video and uh, give me feedback in the comment section. So that's all for the video. See you guys next time.